Welcome back again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's talk a bit about prospects, because this is a subject that crops up quite a lot. Who's the biggest prospect in world boxing? It's an obvious question, and you get lots of names being thrown into the hat. So I thought I'd go through a few of them. I'm going to start with a couple of Brits, because obviously I am English. So one that's, well, the two that spring to mind. The first one is Ben Whittaker, because a former Olympian, 26 years old, which isn't old and it isn't young, that young. But yeah, he's got a great future ahead of him, you would think. He's had a total of 5 fights with 4 KOs, no draws, no defeats. He hasn't fought anyone of note. Very, very flashy, does a lot of showboating. I don't care for any of that crap, but a lot of people do like it. But the kid can fight. You know, I mean, he's very, very slick, very hard punching. He did score a win over an undefeated fighter, Peter Nocic. That was, I think, in his second fight. And he scored a unanimous 6-round decision. You don't often get undefeated fighters putting it on the line in 6-rounders, but we had 2 undefeateds and he came out winning every round. I think Nocic scored maybe 1 round, was close, but the rest it was Whittaker all the way. And Whittaker said, I didn't get rid of him because, you know, I had a little bit of an injury. Okay, fair enough, you know. But since then, he's just been smashing through people at a canter, really, no problem. So he's a big prospect. And the other British prospect is Moses Altama, the heavyweight. Very, very well thought of as an amateur. And, yeah, I mean, 19 years of age, you know, very, very slick, a southpaw. And, yeah, I mean, what can I say? He's a good fighter. He's a very, very good fighter. He's got all the tools there, so it would seem. I mean, he does have one. He hasn't fought anyone, really, but he does have one fight on his record that bears looking at. And that's in his 3rd fight when he fought a guy called Konstantin Dovbyschenko. Now, this is a journeyman, a very, very tough journeyman. And Altama won every round over a 6-rounder. But Dovbyschenko actually scored an upset. I think it was his following fight when he fought Matty Harris, who was undefeated in 5. And Matty Harris floored Dovbyschenko in the 2nd round, I want to say, which Altama couldn't do. The problem was Dovbyschenko got up and knocked out Matty Harris in 5 rounds, and Harris unravelled alarmingly. I mean, his gas tank just seemed to drain. It didn't have a leak in it. Someone had slashed it open and all the fuel had just poured out in a matter of seconds. And Dovbyschenko, I mean, 32 years old, and Harris is just a kid. But he's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. I think Matty Harris is about 24. So he himself was thought of as a prospect, but Dovbyschenko was having none of it. He's from Ukraine. He's got a losing record. He was last seen fighting Tom Schwartz, lost in 10 rounds. You know, Tom Schwartz from his, you know, blowout against Tyson Fury. But he won rounds against Tom Schwartz over in Germany. So this guy is a sort of how gloves will travel. He's currently 10 wins and 14 defeats. But here's the interesting thing. None of the 14 defeats have been by TKO or KO. So he's a very, very tough man. He's only about 6'1". I think he lives in London, in Camden. But anyway, that was an interesting fight for Altama because that's kind of gained a little bit of lustre since Altama beat him. But if you look at the rest of Altama's resume, I mean, they're really no hopers. And he's got five KOs on his record. And all 5 of them are, I think, in the 1st round, if memory serves. I think that's right. I think he's, yeah, 5 first-round knockouts. You're not really learning anything. It's 7-0 with 5 KOs, but he probably learnt more from that Dovbyschenko fight than he did in all of his other fights put together. And some of them have ended within, you know, a minute and a few seconds, half a minute. And, you know, he needs, in 2024, he needs to be, I know he's only 19, but he needs to be stepped up. With people who can give him rounds, although who those people might be, I don't know. So those are the 2 Brits. Internationally, and I don't pretend to know sort of every single prospect on the international scene, but I'll mention a couple that sort of spring out at me. And one is a guy called Abdullah Mason, who is an American from Ohio. He's got 11 wins with 9 KOs, no draws, no defeats. He is 19 years of age. I think he's a lightweight. He was last seen scoring a very picturesque knockout over a guy called Jose Cardenas in the second round. Cardenas came in with I think it was a 7-1 record. Looked like a pretty decent fighter, and Mason floored him in the first round, put him over. He's very, very flashy, Mason, very very quick, and a southpaw to boot. And in the second round, he sort of fainted with the right hand, and Cardenas took his eye off what was coming from the left, and it was a left cross, put him over, and a very highlight reel knockout, as they say. And if you actually look at Mason's record, he's got guys on there like he beat Alex D'Oliveira, who was 20-4. He stopped him in 2 rounds. You know, there's some decent CC plus fighters, guys who could theoretically take you a few rounds. But this kid's a bit special, and he's being brought along very, very well. 11-0, 9 KOs, and only 19 years of age. I like him a lot. I really do like him. Even younger than him is a guy called Kamel Moten, who I think is connected to Mayweather in some way, to Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather's bigging him up, saying he's a new star. This kid's only 17 years of age. Orthodox fighter who's only had 2 fights, and they've both been knockouts in the first round. But here's the thing, interesting thing. Both the opponents were undefeated at the time. One was 4-0 and the other was 3-0. And for a 17-year-old to be smashing through guys you would think would have a little bit of ambition, I'm not saying they were killers or anything like that. For a 17-year-old to be doing that sort of thing, I mean, this kid may have a future. Of course, he's way off, you know, the mountaintop. But at the same time, I think, you know, well worth looking at indeed. And another youngster, another American actually. This guy's from I think Phoenix, Arizona, or I think he's from Arizona. I don't know if it's Phoenix, but he's currently 16-0 with no draws and no KOs, 13 knockouts on his win ledger. And this is Elijah Garcia, and Garcia has beaten some good level opposition. In fact, you might even say, well, he's only 20, but at the same time, he's probably above the prospect level, because his last 3 fights, I think his last 3 opponents had a combined record of something like 44 wins and 2 defeats. One of them was undefeated, which was Amilcar Vidal Jr., who stopped in 4 rounds. And this is a good kid. I mean, he's had 3 fights last year against these 3 opponents. He's won them all. 20 years of age. I mean, he's a middleweight, 6 foot tall middleweight. And yeah, I mean, I think this guy can go far. I think he can go far. Yeah, he's a middleweight. Moten, by the way, the 17-year-old was, what is he now? I forgot to mention what his weight was. I want to say he was a super feather or a featherweight, feather or super featherweight. But yeah, these are some prospects. I mean, I just thought I'd mention a few. You mention who you think are prospects of the year or prospects for the future, I guess you'd say. Leave your comments below. And as always, thanks for your time. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button as well. That'll be a big help. And I'll catch you later. Bye for now.